We have with us today Robb Pitts, who has been around Atlanta politics for a lot of years. He served on the city council for a considerable period of time and actually was president of the council in his last term there. He then ran for county commission, was on the commission for about 12 years, and then in 2017 ran for chair. And he's been chair since then. It's hard to go through all the other things that Robb has done. I know that because of his position, he serves on the Atlanta Regional Commission, so he's got lots of responsibility. So, Robb, is there anything else in this discussion today that you want the voters to know about you before they go and start voting?
I'm very optimistic and very high on Fulton County. You know, we're the largest county in the state of Georgia, but there are some 3,000 plus counties in the United States of America. And Fulton County is recognized as a top tier county. We're ranked in some instances number 4 in the whole country. And that's a big deal. Now, there are counties that have more people than we have. There are counties that have larger land areas than we have. But there are very few that have more influence than your Fulton County, Georgia. But the reason I know that we're held in such high esteem nationwide is because my peers across the country, they call me on a weekly, monthly basis asking me, well, how are you guys doing this? How are you doing that? Particularly in the areas of what we do for our senior citizens. So that's why I know that we are a top tier county, and that's why I want to maintain that standing going forward.
My next question was, why run after all these years of public service? Why aren't you thinking about sitting on the beach and enjoying your senior years doing something else?
We've gone through some difficult times. For example, COVID. We came through COVID with flying colors compared to other counties nationwide. Second thing is, you remember the cyber attack on Fulton County. That was not done by some kids in their basement playing with their laptops. We were attacked by the Russian mob, the highest levels of the Russian mob, who asked us and demanded millions of dollars in ransom money. And I said no to the Russian mob. That's leadership. Third thing that I think that we've gone through is the elections. I am convinced, and I know for a fact, that our elections were open, they were fair, and they were transparent, but yet and still, the president and his guys and girls in Washington, Republican Party, they continue to harp on the fact that he needed that 11,780 votes here in Georgia. But here in Fulton County, in my judgment, we're at war with Washington, D.C. and the president. We have a target on our back, and it all goes back to the 2020 elections. The night of January 28th was the FBI raid. That was a thing that really caught my attention. Not that I wasn't aware before, but I was in my office that day, got a phone call from some of our workers at our elections hub, said, the FBI is here, what do we do? I said, sit tight, I'm on my way. First and foremost, to make sure that our employees were safe, but number 2, to make sure that we complied with everything that the FBI wanted from us, because what I did not want to happen was for there to be some incident here in Fulton County that would escalate nationally like what's happened in other places around the country. So prior to the FBI raid on the night of the 28th, all of the elections materials from the 2020 elections were safe and secure. They were in my custody. But the minute that last truck left our warehouse on January 28th, as I'm talking to you today, I don't know where they are. I don't know who has our ballots and other material from the 2020 election, nor do I know what they're doing with it. I have every confidence in the world in our county attorney, but she and I agreed, though, that we would bring in experts, the top experts in the country, to assist us, and we did. We agreed then that we would file suit, Robb Pitts et al. Versus the United States of America. In that lawsuit, we're asking for 2 things. Number 1, that the affidavit that was used by the FBI to secure the warrant, search warrant, that it be unsealed, because we knew that it was going to be full of falsehoods and so forth. And the second thing that we asked for was that all of the records that were confiscated, seized, whatever term you want to use, that they be returned to us. On the first one, the judge granted us the first one, which means that the affidavit was unsealed, and just as we thought, it wasn't worth the paper that it was printed on. It was full of the same old theories about the elections were stolen in 2020, all of that nonsense. We're now in court, still in court, to determine whether or not we're going to be able to have the all of the documents that were seized returned to us. We first went to mediation. Court ordered mediation. That didn't work. So we were in court last Friday, as a matter of fact. And I think we had a couple of victories in there. First and foremost, the fact that we were actually in court at all was a victory, because the Department of Justice, they didn't even want us to go to court, so they fought us even having our day in court. Now, going forward, am I optimistic about what the court's going to do? I'm not really sure, because I'm told that just when you look at judges, we have sort of a book on this particular judge. So, I mean, the ruling, even though the facts are on our side, even though the truth is on our side, his final ruling could go either way. So my point in going through all of this is because when I say this is not the time for a change in leadership, it's not the time for on-the-job training. We need calm, capable, experienced, and tested leadership.
One of the ways I assess how my local governments are doing is who do they tax? Where does their revenue come from? And the other part is how do they spend it? Is it spent efficiently? Are we getting the kind of things, the services that we need? So philosophically, how do you approach all those questions when the budget comes up, or when the tax issues come up? How do you approach your decision making?
Great question. First and foremost, it's not the elected officials' money. The money belongs to the people. So that's always first and foremost in my mind, to manage that money properly and use it for its intended purpose. I'm so proud of the fact that for the first time in the county's history, we now have a AAA bond rating. What that means is, and you know this, when you go to borrow money, go to the markets, you get the lowest possible interest rate. So the second thing, from a financial or fiduciary point of view, a fiscal responsibility point of view, some 15 years ago, I put in place here at the county as a commissioner a plan whereby we would reduce our millage rate through the years, and that has happened. In fact, over the last 7 years, 6 to 7 years, our millage rate has been flat, meaning it has been at 8.87 mills, even though this year, one of the people running against me, she wanted to raise the millage rate by as much as 14 to 15%, which made no sense to me, and I was able to defeat it. Raising property taxes that much on our citizens was not the right thing to do at that point in time.
I have a little list of what I think are the big issues that are going to face the next administration, the next term. One is obviously the jail. What would be your plan about getting the jail into compliance with the Justice Department's investigations and cutting down on the sad results that we're getting?
That's one of the 5 or 6 projects that are underway or will be underway that I want to see completed under my administration. That's really why I'm running. With respect to the jail, there was a plan and talk about building a brand new jail, a brand new, what I call country club jail, that would house up to 3,000, 4,000 detainees. I would rather spend that kind of money, and argued for this, on building a new hospital, which we'll talk about in South Fulton County, where there's a tremendous need, rather than spending that kind of money on a new jail. We will not build a new jail. We will renovate Rice Street, but we will be building a freestanding, what I'm calling a medical facility on the same footprint. That medical facility will be used to treat inmates, detainees who have either a substance abuse problem or a mental health problem. And approximately 70% of the detainees in our jail have one of those 2 issues. The federal monitor has not said one word, not one word, about a new jail. I give credit where credit is due. But we've had people in our jail who've been there 2, 3 years, not even charged with the crime. That's unconscionable. but it's getting better. Then what happens next? It goes to the judges. There's some fine people on the bench, but there's some that aren't working as hard as they should work. And there are judges, the ones that are working, who will come to my office and tell me confidentially who is working and who's not working. They may get there at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, go to lunch at noon, and play golf the rest of the afternoon. And when is the last time you've known a judge to be defeated who's been up for re-election?
So you brought up the issue of health care, and I think your plan is to try to build a new hospital in South Fulton County.
And there's no doubt that North County is pretty well developed. It's the southern part of the county that needs the help. So I've been working behind the scenes for probably more than 2 years now, probably 2.5 to 3 years, on developing a plan that will lead to a hospital in South Fulton County. You have other people now saying, well, I was involved in this. Not true. We've had some 50 plus meetings. Some of these people who are saying they were involved have not been involved in one meeting, 0 meetings. Here's what the plan is. Here's what my vision was and is. First and foremost, we are going to open here in April or May, as a matter of fact, a freestanding emergency clinic. That's a partnership between Fulton County government and Grady Hospital. County put in $19 million. Great addition, because and if you lived in certain parts of South Fulton County, had an emergency, it was quicker for you to drive to Macon, Georgia to be taken care of than it was to come into downtown Atlanta. Second phase of this complex is a freestanding medical office building that will house all of the specialties, cardiology, urology, gynecology, but more importantly, we'll have areas for Black women's health. And the third phase, this is the granddaddy of them all, there will be, mark my word, will be a brand new, right at 200-bed hospital in South Fulton County on that same footprint. It will be paid for. It's $900 million, $300 million coming from Fulton County. We'll be issuing bonds, $300 million coming from Grady Hospital, and $300 million coming from the private sector and donors. It has been, talked about and wished for, and the people in South Fulton County have paid for it through their taxes, and now they're finally getting what they so richly deserve.
One of the things the mayor has proposed is expanding the tax allocation districts for the next 30 years. And it seems like our commercial property is not taxed the same way our residential property is taxed. My home is based on the sales that happen in my neighborhood, whereas the tax on the commercial property seems to be based on the income of those properties. I don't think that's fair, so I wondered what your feelings are about that, and what you would propose to try to do about it.
I agree with you completely, and I'm telling you what I am doing about it. In order to answer this question once and for all, what I'm proposing to get to the bottom of this is we are going to contract with, as an RFP out right now, to contract with a private firm to come in and review, audit several of these high-profile so-called trophy buildings to see whether or not our Board of Assessors has been following all the rules and regulations, policies, and procedures, so that we can hopefully put this question to rest. But the belief, though, is, and when you look at some of the numbers on the surface, you're absolutely correct, that they don't seem to be being appraised at their fair market value. Your second question was about the TADs. The mayor wants to extend these TADs for, I believe, another 30 years. I'm not saying no to that, but I think that there may be some, but what I also think, though, is that we need to take them, 8 of them, I think, look at each one individually and see what's really needed and what isn't needed. He talks about the belt line in particular. Well, if you are a developer and you can't make money developing on the belt line without incentives, you're probably in the wrong business. It's easier if we talk about it from the school board's point of view than the county's point of view. For example, what happens if we agree to extend these TADs for another 20 or 30 years, that's money that the school board will not have. It'll be going into these TADs. Their mission is educating children. So if they're foregoing lots and lots of money for the TADs, then they don't have the resources that they need to provide for the education of our children.
Can you give me sort of the main thrust of why people should vote for you?
I think now it's about experience. We have some difficult times. We're a target of Washington. The president's coming after Fulton County. And I know this because at the night of that raid on January 28th, when I found out that Tulsi Gabbard was there, that's when it really occurred to me that this is bigger than just an FBI raid on Fulton County, Georgia. The president and his crowd, if they're able to win here in Fulton County, they're going to take this show on the road. He's talking about nationalizing elections, and that's why this is so important. We were the epicenter. We are the epicenter now. So the whole world is watching what we're doing here. That's why I think now more than ever is a time for calm, not a show horse. You need a workhorse. And that's what I think I've demonstrated to the people since my days as a member of the city council, which you pointed out, my days as council president, my days as a commissioner, and for the last 8 years as chair of the Board of Commissioners of Fulton County. People know what they get at me. These are difficult times, no scandals, no nothing. And throughout my career, calm, capable, experienced, tested leadership. That's what I offer.
Well, Robb, we thank you very much for running, and we thank you very much for coming on and talking to the voters.
Thank you.
I
Appreciate you
very much.